Part 16. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 151. The group did not leave until it got dark. On the carriage, Kuimi leaned against the wall with his eyes closed. Bailou, are you willing to go back with Grandpa? Han Bailou couldn't help being stunned. You are not Han Jenkins' flesh and blood, and it is not appropriate to stay in the Han mansion any longer. Grandpa wants to take you back and take good care of you. Grandpa doesn't have a few years left to live. If he can see you get married and have children, he will die. No regrets. Han Bailou threw himself into Kuimi's arms. Grandpa, don't say that, you will definitely live a long life. Kuimi touched her head. Silly boy, even those immortals, few can live over 100 years old, let alone ordinary people like us. Life and death are destined, sooner or later it will happen. Originally, I didn't dare to die. What if I die and Yu Niang comes back? Now that Grandpa has found you, he can still smile even if he is under the 9 springs. Han Bailou clutched his sleeve tightly, feeling boundless confusion in her heart when she thought that this relative who finally appeared would leave her in the future. She finally had a family, is she going to lose them again? But as her grandfather said, life and death are determined by destiny, and she had to face this problem squarely. So, the time she can spend with him is really running out. Every day that passes is one less day. But the thought of leaving this place, where she had lived for more than 10 years, frightened her. Since she was a child, the farthest place she has ever been is probably Ljiazhuang, where sisters Hizzy lives. Isn't there a way to have both? Kuimi noticed her fear, and put his gentle and thin palm on the top of her head, stroking it. Don't be afraid, Bailou. There is no one else at home except us and our grandson. After you leave, you will live in your mother's old boudoir. There are many books and knickknacks she collected there. I keep them all well. There are a lot of fun and delicious food in Dangheng, you will definitely like it. Kuimi slowly told her about the scenery of Dan City, which aroused Han Bailou's yearning. When they returned to the small courtyard, Shen Yizi was planning to take Qingbao out to watch the lights and go shopping. Li Chuntao and Li Qingyun came back from shopping during the day. They said that it was the Hungry Ghost Festival and the streets were very lively. In the evening, there were activities such as setting off river lanterns and burning Dharma boats. Shen Yizi planned to take Qingbao to see it. In modern times, the Hungry Ghost Festival has basically declined, and few people will pass by it. In this era, the Hungry Ghost Festival is obviously an extremely grand festival. There are dozens of festivals for the living, such as the Spring Festival, Lantern Festival, Dragon Boat Festival, Mid-Autumn Festival, etc., but the festivals for the deceased are only one Qingming Festival and one Zhonyuan Festival. The deceased is gone. These are the only 2 days that those who are still alive can reflect on and comfort themselves. Bailou, do you want to come with us? Shen Yizi asked. Han Bailou wanted to follow, but he was reluctant to leave his grandfather behind. Kuimi kindly waved his hand, took off the money bag from his waist and gave it to her. Go ahead. Grandpa is a little tired, so he won't join you young people in making trouble. But you can't play too late, you know. He glanced at Mo Fei Yang emphatically. Mo Fei Yang looked back with an innocent face, indicating that he did not understand what he was talking about. The Jinliu River was crowded with people setting off river lanterns. The Jinliu River is a tributary of the Jinlong River. It winds through most of the city, and is 5 or 6 feet wide at its widest point. The river is green and clear, and the banks are covered with golden willows. As the sun sets, the golden wicker branches flutter in the wind and are illuminated by the afterglow, making them appear to be glowing. That picture often attracts passers-by to stop and watch. At this moment, the night is thick, and there are thousands of river lanterns floating on the river. They flicker, and the floating light reflects. Seen from a high place, they look like thousands of stars, which is extremely spectacular. Shenyazi and his group came to the river, found a place with few people, put the river lantern in their hands on the river, and stirred the river surface with their hands to add fuel to the fire, so that the river lantern could float farther. Shenyazi and Qingbao put a lantern together. It was a lotus lantern that Qingbao chose at the stall. His little hands carefully moved the water to send the river lantern away. The light of the lamp reflected in his big eyes, as bright as stars. "Mother, why do you put out river lanterns?" Qingbao suddenly asked her. Shenyazi pondered for a moment and gathered his limited knowledge. It is said that placing a river lantern in the water can illuminate the Wangchuan River and lead the ghosts to return to the world and meet their relatives. What is the Wangchuan River? Qingbao had a new question. Shenyazi thought to himself, how do I know? However, in front of her son, can she say she doesn't know? The river Wangchuan is a river in the underworld. The underworld is where people live after death. Is it fun there? Is there anything to eat? As expected of a child, he only cares about eating and playing. Shenyazi thought about it and felt that her answer might affect the formation of Qingbao's worldview, so as to prevent him from having unnecessary expectations about that ghost place. She said decisively, "No, it is desolate everywhere, there is neither food nor food just for fun, the people who live there are a bunch of pathetic people, no, pathetic people." At this moment, a chuckle suddenly came from the side. Shenyazi looked around and saw a man standing under the golden willow tree. Most of his figure was covered in shadow, with only a corner of his blood-red robe vaguely exposed. Hand between his cold white slender fingers, he played with a bright red flower. Red as if bleeding. Seeing this made Shenyazi feel a little frightened. But why is he laughing? Was what she just said funny? Shenyazi did not intend to pay attention to this person. Unexpectedly, he stopped her. This girl seems to be very prejudiced against the land of the underworld. Shenyazi. What is prejudice? Does he still have right views? This man is really strange. Oh, really, how do you know, master, have you ever been there? After saying that, Shenyazi also found it funny. How could this person have been there? Unless he is a ghost. How can a ghost appear openly in public? The man stepped out of the shadows, his red robe dazzling in the night. He walked over step by step, walking leisurely and calmly, but Shenyazi noticed that there was no shadow under his feet. Not at all. Shenyazi's pupils shrank, and he secretly pulled Qingbao behind him, raising his vigilance with all his strength. Is the girl scared? There was an interesting smile on the corner of the man's mouth. Shenyazi smiled but said, "You are wrong. I have nothing to be afraid of." At this moment, Qingbao's head came out from behind her and looked curiously at the man opposite her. The man looked at him, his eyes moving slightly. This little guy was quite interesting. "Would you like to go to the netherworld with your uncle?" The man knelt down, lowered his head, and tried his best to look at Qingbao's level. The tone was as if the netherworld was his own back garden, and he could go wherever he wanted. Shenyazi had an intuition that this man was not simple, so he picked up Qingbao and said, "Baby, let's go over there and look at the lights." Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 152. The man did not stop him. He stood up and stood there, watching the mother and son disappear into the crowd. Qingbao lay on Shenyazi's shoulder and kept looking at him. In the dimly lit place, the man's fiery red figure revealed an indescribable desolation. Men and women passed in front of him, but they couldn't see him at all, and simply ignored him. "Little guy, we will meet again," the man said. Even though he was so far away, his voice passed through the sea of people and rang directly in Qingbao's ears. Qingbao opened his eyes wide and watched blankly as his figure gradually became illusory and disappeared completely. "Mom, that uncle is missing." Shen Yizi turned around and found that the strange man had disappeared. She frowned. Forget it, he's just a passerby, as long as he doesn't mess with her. But the next moment, Qingbao held up a flower in his hand and showed it to her. Mother, hua hua. Suddenly a chill ran up Shen Yizi's back. If she read it correctly, this flower was the one the man held before. When did he deliver it to Qingbao? How come she didn't notice it at all? That flower was so red that it seemed impossible to grow it in the human world. It had an inexplicable cold and eerie aura, like coagulated blood. Suddenly, the flower turned into a pool of blood, covering Qingbao's hands. Shen Yizi was startled, but when he looked again, he saw that the flower was still fine and had not turned into blood. But how could she dare to let Qingbao hold it? He took it and threw it into space. No matter what kind of thing this flower is, if it is stained by the soil in the space, it will only be digested. Unfortunately, this time she was wrong. After the red flower entered the space, it burned automatically. When it burned to the end, a drop of bright red blood remained. The blood bead is like a naughty elf, wandering around in the space, looking here and there, feeling novel about everything. Shen Yizi threw the red flowers into the space and stopped paying attention, so he didn't see the scene. The Dharma boat is coming, the Dharma burning is coming. There was a cheer from the crowd. Shen Yizi followed the flow of people holding Qingbao in his arms. She used a blinding trick, and the crowd would unconsciously avoid her, so even if the crowds were huge, she and Qingbao would be in their own world without being disturbed by the outside world. Qinwu and Kunsan followed closely behind her, always on guard against accidents. It is said that Dharma boats carry lonely souls and ghosts to the underworld and save them from the suffering of hell. However, only those who died before July 15th can enjoy this treatment. Those who arrive after July 15th will not be able to make the trip. I can only rely on my own two legs, and I have to endure all kinds of hardships. The Dharma boat is coming, the Dharma boat is coming. Everyone was very excited and crowded forward. Shen Yizi could only see a large mass of human heads. Qingbao was held by her. He was taller than her, but there were many obstacles in front of him, so he couldn't see clearly even if he stretched his neck. There happens to be a building next to it, and there are also heads in front of the windows in front of the railings upstairs. I guess they have reserved their seats in advance. But the roof is empty. Shen Yizi immediately used the light body technique, jumped up, and flew to the roof with 3 or 2 clicks of force. Looking down from here, you can see everything below, and Qingbao is very satisfied. Qianwu and Kunsan also used Qinggong to fly up, which made everyone below look in amazement. The roof is very spacious, but there are slopes on both sides to prevent it from accidentally falling. But this was nothing to do with Shen Yizi. She took out a reclining chair, sat on it with Qingbao in her arms, and got 2 benches for Ganuliang to sit down to. It's so cool to have this large area to yourself without having to squeeze in with others, and to have a good view. Especially when you see those people below standing on tiptoe and stretching their necks, it feels even better. I wonder where Bailu and the others are now. Have you found a good viewing location? Although a group of people came out together, they gradually dispersed later on. In addition, there were so many people that it was not easy to get back together after being separated. On the other hand, Han Bailuo was extremely annoyed with Mo Fei Yang, who followed him shamelessly. "Why are you following me all the time?" The tone was fierce. Mo Fei Yang suddenly pulled her to his side to avoid a child rushing towards him. "I am here to protect my future wife. If anything happens to her, I will have to be a bachelor for the rest of my life. How miserable." Mo Fei Yang talked nonsense seriously and took the opportunity to hug the person close to him. Han Bailuo reacted and jumped in anger. "When did I say I wanted to marry you?" Mo Fei Yang held her waist with his palms and suddenly approached her. "It will happen sooner or later." His tone was firm. Han Bailuo was stunned by his sudden approach. Hearing what he said so firmly, he became angry and pushed him violently. You should give up. Even if I marry a pig in my life, I won't do it marry you. This man is so abominable. Han Bailuo walked forward with his head down. Mo Fei Yang stood there for a while, the smile on his face suddenly disappeared, and his expression looked a little gloomy and scary. However, soon, he smiled again and hurried after him. Ho ho, he imitated two pig sounds. Now that I have become a pig, is it time for you to marry me? Han Bailuo. Can this person get any more face? She was too lazy to pay attention to him and just let him talk to himself. Mo Fei Yang actually didn't feel bored, but actually seemed to enjoy it. The Dharma boat is coming, come and see. There was a commotion ahead. Han Bailu also wanted to see it. In the past, she spent the half of July every year huddled in the house alone and deserted. Listening to the excitement outside, she felt very sad. This was her first time walking openly on the street, and she became a part of the excitement. However, looking at the turbulent flow of people in front of her, she hesitated. With her current small body, what if she gets knocked down? She will be trampled to death. Mo Fei Yang saw all her desires and worries in his eyes, and pointed to a big tree on the shore. Did you see that tree? Sitting in the tree, you don't have to worry about crowding, and you can see clearly, and don't want to go. Han Bailuo naturally thought, but how could she get up there by herself? Mo Fei Yang couldn't help but wrap his arms around her waist, and instantly flew into the air towards the big tree. Han Bailuo suddenly lost weight, and subconsciously held onto him tightly, using both hands and feet, and his whole body was pressed against him. Happiness came so quickly that Mo Fei Yang almost lost control and fell from the air. Fell on the branches, the thick branches and leaves wrapped the two people's bodies, forming a small and secret space. Han Bailuo noticed his current posture and was so embarrassed that he wished he could find a hole in the ground to crawl into and hurriedly got off Mo Fei Yang. He smiled silently, but didn't say anything, so as not to offend the girl and make her angry. Look, the Dharma boat is coming. He parted the branches and said. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 153. Han Bailuo looked along and was instantly stunned by the tall and gorgeous Dharma boat. On the roof, Shen Yizi hugged Qingbao and nestled on the lounge chair, eating snacks and enjoying the scenery, not to mention how leisurely it was. When the Dharma boat appeared in sight, her eyes widened slightly. She thought that the Dharma boat was only 1 or 2 meters long at most. She was originally wondering why so many people were rushing to see it, but now she finally understood. The slowly approaching Dharma boat was 20 or 30 meters long and 89 meters high, just like a giant. I can't imagine it was made of paper. The Dharma ship has a majestic appearance, gold and silver shine, the fan blows and the fan blows, it is brilliant and colorful, it is really gorgeous. There are many figures standing on the boat, with different shapes and bright clothes. Just standing there motionless. After staring for a while, Shen Yizi realized that those people were actually made of paper. It's really lifelike. In addition to the people made of paper, there are also various objects such as sedan chairs, tables and chairs, cups, utensils, swords, etc. The size and format are the same as the real ones, just like a living ship. Waves of chanting came from the boat. Shen Yizi swept his consciousness and found that there were several monks sitting cross-legged in the boat. Among them, the one sitting on the high platform in the center with a compassionate face and the appearance of a Taoist master was not Chang Feng. Which one again? As a monk, Chang Feng was naturally aware of Shen Yizi's spiritual peeping. Opened his eyes and blinked in her direction, then closed them again so fast that Shen Yizi thought he was hallucinating. but in the circle of monks below, no one noticed. Shen Yizi was inexplicably funny. Master Chang Feng is really a wonderful person. He never forgets his skin when reciting salvation. When the Dharma boat was halfway through, something unexpected happened. Someone fell into the water. The man obviously didn't know how to swim. After falling, he flopped vigorously in the water and kept shouting help. Several people jumped down from the side like dumplings and swam towards the man. Seeing that a fast swimmer was about to catch him, the man sank suddenly, as fast as if he was being dragged down by something. Seeing this, Shen Yizi suddenly realized that something was wrong. There was something causing trouble in the river. She quickly used a blind trick to send Qingbao into the space, and then took out a puppet doll that was exactly the same as Qingbao. She sold all the remaining purple gold ore, exchanged it for 999 points, and bought it from the grocery store. It can achieve 99% simulation degree. It is good to use it to deceive others when necessary. Shen Yizi gave Kun San the puppet and said, "Help me take good care of Qingbao. I'll come as soon as I go. Leap up, tap your toes on the leverage point a few times, and land on the river." Ah! Several frightened shouts came from the river. The few people who jumped into the water to save others were also dragged into the water. One of them had some skills and immediately took out a short knife hanging from his waist and slashed at the thing wrapped around his waist. Ouch! The thing underwater felt pain and let out a sharp cry. Shen Yizi sped up and rushed to the scene of the incident. He looked over with his spiritual sense and discovered that what was under the water was an octopus monster covered with tentacles. Master Chang Feng in the Dharma boat also sensed something was wrong, and flew out of the boat. "You evil beast! How dare you make trouble under my nose, Chang Feng? Look at how this poor monk will accept you." Shen Yizi. This style of painting is a bit strange. The two of them looked at each other and communicated with each other. Shen Yizi, leave the matter of rescuing people to Master Chang Feng. I'll go down there and have a look. Chang Feng had exactly what he meant. Okay. The communication of spiritual consciousness only took a moment. The two of them passed by each other, one rescued the other and the other dived into the water. Shen Yizi held the dragon-tooth dagger in his hand and just went up to stop the octopus monster that wanted to dive. The octopus monster is just a bit bigger in size. It is actually just an early-stage first-order monster. However, this is underwater, the octopus monster's home field, and it has so many tentacles that it makes her a little confused. Embarrassed, he couldn't take it down for a while. But her mission was just to stop the octopus monster from escaping so that Chang Feng could rescue the person, so she fought fairly calmly. On the other hand, the octopus monster is getting more and more irritable. Because its tentacles are decreasing. In order to save people, Chang Feng simply cut off its tentacles that were entangling people. The octopus roared violently, opened its mouth and spurted out a large ball of thick ink juice. The juice spread rapidly in the water, not only blocking the line of sight, but also blocking the consciousness. Shen Yizi immediately stepped into the space. In that patch of ink, she was basically blind, so she wouldn't have stayed there and become a target for the octopus monster. Chang Feng also jumped out of the water without giving the octopus a chance to attack him. So when the octopus monster launched his ultimate move and thought he could tear the two into pieces, he found that they were all gone. The octopus monster wandered back and forth in the ink several times, but could not find any trace of the two people. It felt so depressed that it let out several unwilling roars and swam away with the last person. But just at this moment, the two people who had disappeared reappeared. One blocked its way, and the other attacked its tentacles, which made the octopus very annoyed. Didn't it just want to capture a few people and take them back? These two hateful humans are still holding on to it. Seeing that the octopus monster was about to launch its ultimate move again, Shen Yizi simply threw Yi Chang out. "Deal with this big guy, and I'll make octopus for you when you get back." As soon as Yu Chang heard about the food, his fighting spirit was instantly aroused. He quickly grew in size and launched the sky-swallowing skill towards the octopus monster. Of course he does not expect to destroy it with one move, but uses the sky-swallowing skill to create a powerful suction force so that the octopus monster cannot escape. Sure enough, as soon as the sky-swallowing skill was released, a huge whirlpool formed around it, sucking the octopus monster into it. Its remaining tentacles moved as hard as they could, but still couldn't break free. The person who was originally caught by it was also sucked away by the strong suction force. Yu Chang stopped before the person was sucked into his mouth, rolled it aside with his tail, and handed it to Shen Yizi. Then he tightly wrapped around the dizzy octopus monster in the whirlpool and swallowed it in one gulp. Soon it became thinner and smaller, and bounced back to Shen Yizi. A great war disappeared in this way. Back on the shore, Shen Yizi put the unfortunate guy down and put his fingers on several acupuncture points on his chest. The man suddenly coughed out some water and regained consciousness. The same operation was done to the others, and several people woke up one after another. The people who were watching were greatly amazed and called them gods one after another. Shen Yizi was not good at dealing with this kind of scene, so he simply disappeared into the crowd, leaving Chang Feng to do his best. After some comfort from Chang Feng, the people knew that the monster had been eliminated and continued to watch the lights with peace of mind. At this time, the guards who got the news rushed over and learned that the matter had been resolved. After understanding the situation, they went back. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 154. Chang Feng returned to the Dharma boat and continued to lead a group of monks to chant sutras to save the souls of the dead. After swimming most of the way around the city, the mission of the Dharma boat was completed, so it was burned to the ground. The flames soared into the sky, burning brightly and turning half the sky red. The scraps of paper flew into ashes, scattered on the water, or rising into the sky. Under the water, a large group of messy black hair suddenly appeared, like an enchanting blooming flower. Under the black hair, a face with pale complexion and bright red lips is looming. Suddenly, the originally closed eyes on that face opened. Shen Yizi didn't know all this. Watching lanterns, burning Dharma boats, and fighting an octopus monster, the night was fulfilling and exciting. It was already dark. Shen Yizi held the puppet baby in his arms, met Han Bailuo and others at the pre-arranged place, and headed back home together. On the way, Li Chuntao kept talking excitedly about what he had seen and heard, and Li Qingyun added something from time to time. Han Bailuo was unusually silent. Li Chuntao asked strangely, "Bailuo, what's wrong with you?" Shen Yizi's eyes passed over Han Bailuo's slightly swollen red lips, and she felt relieved. She took a deep look at Mo Fei Yang beside her. This man has a lot of cultivation and is obviously not an ordinary person. He has been deliberately getting close to Bailu since the beginning of the Kunfang meeting. Whether he is really interested in Bailu or has some other purpose, she doesn't care, but if he makes any move to hurt Bailu, she will let him know why the flowers are so red. Going back to the small courtyard, after a simple wash, Shen Yizi lay on the bed, Han Bailuo slept on the side of the bed, and Qingbao slept in the middle. It was too late, so she didn't replace Qingbao, so she just let him stay in the space. The space is rich in spiritual energy. Even if he has no awareness of cultivation now, the spiritual energy will be actively absorbed by his body. The longer he stays, the greater the benefit will be to him. She originally wanted to see if he was asleep, but she found that not only was he not asleep, he was still very energetic studying the octopus monster. After entering the space, Yi Chang vomited out the octopus monster he had swallowed earlier. Of course it wasn't vomited out of the stomach, that would be so disgusting. As a demon beast that has awakened the bloodline of the sky-swallowing python, Yi Chang has opened up a separate space in his body for him to store the food he swallows. As his level increases, This space will become larger and larger, big enough to swallow the sky. This is the origin of the sky-swallowing python. He had placed the octopus monster there before. The body of the octopus monster is as big as a hill. Facing such a huge creature, Qingbao is not afraid at all, and his eyes are full of novelty. He completely regarded it as a large toy, crawling around on his body, and even used his tentacles as a slide. First, he climbed up like a fat insect, and after climbing to the top, then he slid down one of the tentacles and had a great time. What if the road slips and falls down? After all, the octopus monster's tentacles don't have guardrails on both sides like a real slide. Isn't there also Yu Chang? She was like an old mother keeping an eye on him. Once he fell, she would immediately rush over to catch him with her enlarged body, and deliberately made her body elastic and soft, like a spring bed, so that he could fall easily. Comfortable. When Qingbao fell, his whole body sank in, but he bounced back up. With every bounce, he let out bursts of cheerful laughter. Shen Yizi watched for a while and saw that he was playing so selflessly with no intention of stopping that he had to show up and said, "Baby, it's already very late. It's time to go to bed." Children are inherently energetic creatures, and her little one, because it is nourished by spiritual energy, is even more amazing. It can stay up 24 hours a day and play all night without any problem. But what happens if a child doesn't sleep? If you don't sleep, you won't grow taller. If you don't grow taller, no girl will like us, King Bao. Shen Yizi coaxed children without any conscience. Girls are not attractive to Qingbao now, but the previous sentence. If you don't sleep, you won't grow taller. It is more intimidating to him. Dad made a promise with him before that if he grows taller next time we meet again, he will take him to sit on a big bird and fly in the sky. At that time, they even pulled the trigger. Qingbao glanced at the octopus with nostalgia and said, "I will play again tomorrow." Shen Yizi responded with a smile, "Okay, mother, don't move it." Qingbao then climbed up to his little bed with confidence, grabbed the little bear doll beside him, and was about to close his eyes when he suddenly remembered, "Mother, kiss." Shen Yizi leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. Although she was now conscious and could not touch him, seeing her mother kiss her still made Qingbao feel satisfied. "Good night, darling." "Good night, mother." After a while, Qingbao opened his eyes again and made sure that Shen Yizi was still there before he fell asleep with peace of mind. "Be good, mother is right here with you." Shen Yizi's conscious body floated to the bed and lay down next to him. Even though he knew he wouldn't crush her, Qingbao happily gave up half of his position to her. Listening to his regular little snoring, Shen Yizi felt warm in her heart. Her little baby would grow up happily and safely. After a long time, she got up and left, coming outside. Yu Chang followed her hesitantly. "Are my octopus gone?" "If you want to give that octopus monster to Qingbao as a toy." Shen Yizi glanced at him and said, "I only think about eating all day long." Yu Chang expressed that he was very aggrieved. He was originally a cold fairy who didn't care about food and drink, but after staying with her for a long time, he was infected with the habit of loving food. Later, he awakened the bloodline of the sky-swallowing python, and it was even worse. He felt that his stomach was always in turmoil, and he was never fed. He didn't want to either. He also wanted to be a little fairy snake that ate the wind and drank the dew, but his bloodline didn't allow it. In this life, his bloodline has destined him to be a foodie forever. Don't worry, I promise you that the octopus will not be missing from you. The octopus monster is just a slide to Qingbao, as long as she can get him another one. In addition to slides, there are also seesaws and other things to create a children's paradise for him. Thinking of this, Shen Yizi suddenly had many strange ideas in his mind. However, looking at the already fully planned space, there was not much space left to place the appliances, and he couldn't help but feel frustrated. At this time, the trial manual floated in front of her, and she turned to the page of the grocery store. Do you want to know about the children's aerial theme park? As long as 9,999 points, it is yours. On the front page of the grocery store, there is a picture of a children's paradise full of fairy tale colors. There are all kinds of projects, and even Shenyazi, an adult, feels the urge to be a child again when he looks at them. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 155. If Qingbao sees this paradise tomorrow, he will definitely jump up with joy. But 9,999 points? Where would she get it? It is estimated that all the purple gold mines will have to be mined and sold to get enough. No, it doesn't need to be that troublesome, as long as you sell me this drop of Pluto's blood. A drop of blood emerged from the top of the trial manual, but it seemed to be trapped by an invisible cover. Even if you dashed left and right, you couldn't get rid of the confinement of the trial manual. Pluto's blood. Shenyazi looked at the drop of blood that was as active as a living thing and frowned in confusion. Where did this come from? Why do some strange things always appear in her space when she doesn't know it? Last time it was immortal vine, this time it was Pluto's blood. You are the current owner of the God Emperor Pearl. Who else can bring the thing in besides you? The trial manual was speechless. She got it in? When did she? By the way, that red flower. Other than that, there is no other explanation. So, that man is Pluto, Shenyazi murmured. I accidentally met a big shot. But Pluto only deals with things in the underworld and has nothing to do with her. Then again, is Pluto's blood so valuable? One drop can be redeemed for 9,999 points. Yeah, so what are you waiting for? The tone of the trial manual revealed a hint of urgency. Shenyazi squinted her eyes. Why did she think this trial manual coveted Pluto's blood? The trial manual that sensed her thoughts. Oops, I accidentally leaked my emotions. Is this woman not going to sell it? That's not the case. In Shenyazi's opinion, that drop of Pluto's blood was for free. It would be a great deal to exchange it for a paradise to make Qingbao happy. However, after discovering the trial manual's desire for Pluto's blood, she felt that she could raise the price. After all, it's a seller's market now. If she didn't take the opportunity to blackmail the trial manual, wouldn't she have missed this opportunity in vain? She stretched out her hand to grab the drop of blood and said to the trial manual, "Want it?" Trial manual, this is not nonsense. Shenyazi suddenly had an idea and searched for Pluto's blood in the grocery store, and a lot of related products suddenly appeared below. But only the top one is authentic. It is clearly marked with 18,888 points for one drop of Pluto's blood. A drop of Pluto's blood costs 18,888 points, and a children's playground facility only costs 9,999 points. You want to use a mere children's paradise to coax this drop of Pluto's blood away from me? Let's give it a try. Your calculations are quite accurate. Shenyazi didn't show any anger on his face, but instead had a smile on his face. But it was this that made the trial manual even more frightening. I don't even care about being called a little trial. He could only try his best to make amends. No, it's not that I didn't. You misunderstood me. What I meant was that you can buy this children's playground facility by selling me Pluto's blood. I didn't say that you only need 9,999 points acquire it. Really, Shenyazi said in a cool tone. If she hadn't had the idea to check it out, this man who was obsessed with manuals would definitely have wanted to take advantage of her. One price, 20,000 points, do you want to take it? After buying the park in this way, there are still 10,000 points left, which is 1/10 of the points for buying the space. Trial manual, okay. Now it's fair to get this drop of Pluto's blood first, But as for points? Hum, he will be able to earn it back from her sooner or later. After some operations, a computer-sized park model appeared in Shenyazi's hands. There are slides, merry-go-rounds, Ferris wheels, bumper cars, mazes, candy houses, etc. All the buildings are round and cartoony, with bright colors but not clutter, as if they were moved from a fairy tale world. On both sides of the road, there are also various types of mini puppets scattered around, including humanoids, but more of them are various strange beasts. They are NPCs in the park, have certain intelligence and can serve players. Shenyazi followed the instructions and opened the central formation of the paradise. The originally computer-sized paradise was able to face the wind, slowly rise, and after reaching a certain height, it stopped in mid-air. Shenyazi is now in a soul state and floats up easily. After the paradise became larger, it took up more than half of the space. Fortunately, it was in the air and would not hinder anything. She visited the entire park under the leadership of the director of the park, a female puppet with fluffy rabbit ears and a short plush tail trailing behind her buttocks, and felt quite satisfied. Finally, she came to the control center of the park, a giant mushroom building in the center. The outside looked like a real mushroom and the color was extremely bright, but the inside was divided into several floors and had all kinds of facilities. Shenyazi came to the control room. As soon as she stepped inside, she felt as if she was in the universe. There was a dark void under her feet, and she was surrounded by the bright sea of stars and the Milky Way. It was so beautiful and shocking. This is the effect created by the formation, which is so lifelike that it feels like she is actually on the scene, so at first she was a little afraid to put her foot down, always feeling that she would fall as soon as she stepped out. Although she doesn't even have a physical body now, she doesn't have to worry about this problem at all. I got used to it later and even enjoyed it a little bit. After playing for a while, she summoned the general formation, and instantly, her feet lit up, like a field of stars blooming underneath. Every bit of starlight is a formation node. The reason why this paradise is so expensive is mainly because of this formation. Floating array, space array, temperature control array, dust avoiding array, Ruyi array, this large array contains more than a dozen subarrays of various sizes. With the formation in hand, she can change this paradise at will, change the theme, and change the location. She tried it and changed the current summer theme park into a winter theme. In an instant, the entire park was covered with a thick layer of white snow, making it look like a crystal clear world of ice and snow. After getting familiar with the various functions, Shenyazi changed the theme back. It is midsummer now, so let the paradise correspond to the season outside. Floating down from the paradise, Shenyazi looked at the large shadow above his head. When he got up tomorrow, he would see such a big paradise and so many people playing with him. He would definitely be so happy that he would jump up and down. Thinking of his smiling face, the heartache that had cost her nearly 10,000 points suddenly disappeared. As long as her little baby can be happy, she doesn't mind spending any number of points. Yu Chain looked at the paradise above his head. You will spoil Qingbao rotten sooner or later. So what if he is spoiled? No matter how bad my lover is, how bad can he be? Even if he gets into trouble in the future, as long as I am a strong enough mother, I can easily deal with it. Yi Chang, well, you are right, as long as we are strong enough, even if Qingbao breaks the sky, we can still make it up for him. Well, children can be taught. Shenyazi had a very wise expression on his face. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 156. Qingbao, who was sleeping like a little piglet at the moment, had no idea how his mother and Uncle Yu Chain were planning to spoil him rotten. Before going out, Shen Yazi turned the trial manual to his own page and checked the recent points income details. I found out that tonight I saved people and killed an octopus monster that was causing harm to the people. I got a total of 588 points. Including some remaining points, she now has nearly 11,000 points. The distance to buy the space has already reached 1/10. Very good, keep up the good work. Strive to get rid of the status of house slave as soon as possible. Consciousness returned, Shen Yazi noticed a gaze. Is the puppet next to it? He actually didn't sleep. Puppet dolls are somewhat similar to intelligent robots, but they are more advanced than robots because they are flesh and blood. After being bought by her, everything about him was blank, but his learning ability was very strong. As he came into contact with the outside world, he would become more and more like a human being. Coupled with the fact that she looks like Qingbao, she sometimes looks in a trance. When he was created, he was branded as not to harm his master and to protect his master at all costs. And his master is Qingbao. Perhaps one day in the future, he will die protecting Qingbao. He has the same face as Qingbao, his skin is warm and soft, and he also exudes a nice milky fragrance. Compared to Qingbao, he is shy, quiet, obedient, and timid about the world. Shen Yazi saw a trace of fear and uneasiness in his eyes. Her heart softened, she took him into her arms and patted his back. Don't be afraid, mother is here. Let's think of him as Qingbao's younger brother. This was the first time she called herself mother in front of him. The puppet felt her recognition and acceptance, and softly called out, Mother. Well, go to bed quickly, I have to get up early to go home tomorrow. Shen Yazi patted his little butt. The puppet shyly crawled into her arms, wrapping its arms around her neck. Shen Yazi suddenly said, Mom, please give you a name. How about Yuanbao? Yuan means the beginning, which represents a new beginning. Yuanbao, Yuanbao, I also have a name. Yuanbao was very happy. Looking at his happy little face, Shen Yazi felt very complicated. Her original intention of buying the puppet doll was just to find a substitute for Qingbao, who could protect him from disasters at critical moments. Who would have thought that a puppet doll would have such high intelligence and become more and more humane? How could she bear to use him as a shield? That's all, at worst, we should raise another son, so that Qingbao can have a companion in the future. Han Bailuo, who was sleeping next to him, suddenly turned over and muttered, Asshole, stay away from me. Shen Yazi is funny, she probably dreamed about Mo Fei Yang. These two people are really enemies. Perhaps even Han Bailuo herself didn't realize that her attitude toward Mo Fei Yang was actually a mixture of dislike and affection. But it will take some time for these two to get together. The next morning, in space. When Qingbao woke up, Yi Chang also quit his cultivation state and crawled over to wrap his arms around him. Qingbao, your mother has prepared an amusement park for you. Do you want to go and see it? He wanted to take a look last night, but she refused to let him go, saying that he wanted Qingbao to be the first to experience it. Although Yu Chang felt a little sad, he also loved Qingbao very much, so he kept waiting for Qingbao to wake up. Go. Uncle Yu Chang, take me there quickly. Qingbao jumped out of bed and ran out. Okay, slow down. Yi Chang hurriedly followed. When Qingbao came to the bottom of the amusement park, a hydrogen balloon fell from above. Yi Chang climbed up with Qingbao, and the hydrogen balloon slowly rose into the sky. Qingbao lay on the edge of the fence and looked around curiously. Qingbao, welcome to the Four Seasons theme amusement park. The director of the bunny girl stood at the edge of the amusement park and saluted Qingbao, who came up. Qingbao picked it out of the basket of the hydrogen balloon and looked at the scene in front of him, like a deer that had broken into a fairy tale world, novel and excited, but with a hint of hesitation. Come on, Qingbao, I can't wait to try it. Yu Chang has lived for tens of thousands of years, but in fact he spent most of his time in cultivation and seclusion. To be honest, his life in that time was not as vivid and exciting as the past few months. He really didn't have much fun before. In the words of the woman Shenyazi, life without childhood is incomplete. Anyway, he is a young snake now, and he is still many years away from reaching adulthood. He can play hard. Under his leadership, Qingbao also let go. After a while, the two of them went crazy. The whole place was full of people running around. Shenyazi penetrated the space consciously and couldn't help but laugh when he saw this scene. At this time, several people were sitting around the dining table having breakfast. Seeing her suddenly laughing, Han Bailuo couldn't help asking, "Sisters Hizzy, why are you laughing?" Shenyazi blinked, "I'm going back, I'm happy." Li Chuntao immediately agreed, "Although it's better in the city, I still feel more comfortable staying in the village. I've been away for the past few days, and there are probably a lot of people visiting the hospital for treatment." Thinking about it, she couldn't wait to go back. "Mother, eat the eggs." Yuan Bao put a peeled egg into Shenyazi's plate. Shenyazi kissed him emotionally. This child was so sensible. How is it like Qingbao? If the brat doesn't the eggs from her mouth, it's fine. Why don't you peel them for her? Non-existent. Han Bailuo looked envious, "Qingbao can even peel eggs for my mother." Mo Fei Yang fed an egg he had peeled on his hand to her mouth. "Don't envy others, I can peel it for you anytime you want." In an instant, all 5 or 6 pairs of eyes on the dinner table looked over. Han Bailuo was so embarrassed that he stepped on him hard under the table. Mo Fei Yang deliberately asked innocently, "Xiao Luo Er, why are you stepping on me?" The eyes of the people at the table suddenly became more incomprehensible. They lowered their heads silently to pick up the rice and refused to eat the dog food. Han Bailuo wanted to give Mo Fei Yang another kick. At this time, Kui Mi cleared his throat and said, "Fei Yang, are you busy later? Can you do me a favor?" Facing his sweetheart's grandfather, Mo Fei Yang was naturally respectful and hurriedly sat upright and said, "It's okay. If you have anything to say, just tell him. Well, after dinner, you can come with me to take charge of the admissions process." "Okay." Mo Fei Yang agreed readily. However, he soon regretted it, because after eating, Shenyazi and his party were about to leave. And he still had to stay in the city with Mr. Kui. Seeing Han Bailuo get on the carriage without looking back, Mo Fei Yang felt depressed for a while. This heartless little girl. However, the next moment, the car curtain opened, revealing Han Bailuo's hibiscus face. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 157. Mo Fei Yang snorted arrogantly, and he just said, "How could this little girl not even say hello to him?" Just as he was about to step forward, he saw her raising her hand towards Kui Lao. "Grandpa, you have to take care of yourself. Don't worry. When Grandpa is done with his work here, he will go to Jiazhuang to find you." Kui Mi stood under the persimmon tree at the entrance of the alley and smiled at her. Then, Han Bailuo sat back and didn't even look at Mo Fei Yang during the whole process. He grinned at his teeth secretly. One day, he will let this little girl see how powerful he is, so that she can no longer ignore him. The return trip was still joyful. It's just that Shenyazi changed the way of playing. Yuan Bao stayed quietly in Shenyazi's arms throughout the whole process, which well promoted the spirit of observing the cards without saying a word. Li Chuntao was a little confused. "Why do you feel that Qingbao has become so much better?" Yuan Bao was panicked. Could it be that he had revealed a flaw? Subconsciously he looked towards Shenyazi. I saw her face was very calm and calm. Unhurriedly, he played a card and then said, "This kid played like crazy all night last night, and he hasn't recovered yet. Is the baby sleepy again?" Yuan Bao yawned in cooperation and nuzzled into her arms. "Mother, I'll take a nap for a while." Well, go to sleep. I'll call you when you get home. Shenyazi touched his head. Seeing that he was asleep, Han Beoluo both lowered their voices. The carriage rolled along the official road, and cicada cries came from the trees beside the road. This is an ordinary summer. Yuan Bao smelled the reassuring and comfortable scent of Shenyazi and felt extremely satisfied. He is a puppet and does not need to sleep, but he enjoys the feeling of lying in his mother's arms. Entering the village, there were not many people on the village road. It was still mid-morning, one of the few times of the day when it was not too hot. Most of the people in the village went to the fields and were busy picking up crops. However, when passing by the medical clinic, there was a bit of buzz of people. The long grass pavilion outside was almost full of people, and Li Xiaodong was busy going in and out to entertain them. Xiaodongzi, how long will it take for Dr. Shen to come back? I've been waiting for 2 days, a patient asked. Li Xiaodong didn't know either. Dr. Shen had previously promised that he would be back in the afternoon if he could hurry up, but it turned out that it was already the next day. Just at this moment, a familiar carriage drove over. Li Xiaodong exclaimed in surprise, "Dr. Shen is back." He ran over like a child. Shen Yazi simply came down and asked Yuan Bao, "Are you going home with Uncle Ganu and the others, or are you staying in the hospital with your mother?" "With mother." Yuan Bao grabbed her finger. Shen Yazi said to Gan Wu, "You go back first." Han Beoluo and Li Chuntao did not go home at all, but went directly to the hospital with her and started working. "Doctor, I've been having vomiting and diarrhea for the past 2 days and I'm dizzy. The doctor said I had dysentery and prescribed a prescription for diarrhea, but it didn't work after I took medicine and drank it. Please give me a look." The first patient came in and sat in front of the pulse table. Shen Yazi first looked at his face, asked about some symptoms, and then checked his pulse and confirmed, "You are suffering from white dysentery. I will prescribe you a bottle of Teizigen pills. You can take it back and give it to me with rice soup. Take it 3 times a day and you'll be fine in 2 days. It is midsummer now, and it is easy to suffer from heat dysentery, so Shen Yazi made many pills specifically to treat such diseases. Han Beoluo led the patient to the nearby pharmacy to get medicine. The second patient in line immediately came forward. Looking at the whole day, Shen Yazi didn't even have time to eat. He only ate a few pieces of dried meat in the gaps. I was busy until 8 or 9 o'clock before the patient finished reading. She stood up from the chair, stretched out a lot, and shook her neck, her bones making a cracking sound. Yuan Bao looked at her worriedly. Shen Yazi slapped his chubby cheek and said, "Mom, it's okay. There have been a lot of patients in the past 2 days. I'm not usually so tired. Do you feel a little bored after following your mother today? Next time." Yuan Bao grabbed her hand and shook it, his eyes full of admiration. "It's not boring. I'm very happy to be with my mother. This little thing is really painful. Let's go, mother will take you home." Shen Yazi sorted out his pulse, took his hand, and walked out. "Beolu, please go back with me now that there are more and more patients in the hospital. It's not suitable for you to live here anymore." "Sisters Hizzy, do you want me to live in your house?" "What, you don't want to?" Yes, yes, Han Beoluo nodded like a fool. How could she not be willing? She had long wanted to live in Sisters Hizzy's house, but Sisters Hizzy didn't say anything, and she was too embarrassed to mention it. When leaving the house, Shen Yazi gave another instruction, "Chuntao, Qifen, you all should go back too. Be careful on the road." "Okay, I'll go back when I'm done with this." Yang Qifen said outside the kitchen. Han Beoluo held Yuan Bao's other hand and jumped up and down along the way, which showed how happy he was in his heart. Shen Yazi arranged Han Beoluo in the second wing of the inner courtyard. There are 3 rooms in the east wing. Kun San lives in 1 room and 2 rooms are vacant. There are all the necessary furniture and items in the wing room. All you need to do is lay out sheets and bedding. Shen Yazi found a new 4-piece set of washed sheets, and Han Bailuo quickly laid them out for himself. Although she was the eldest lady of the Han family in the past, her life was not as good as that of a young maid, so she developed a lot of life skills, including making beds and folding quilts. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to adapt to country life so well, right? Shen Yizi gave a few more instructions and then returned to the small building. Han Bailuo threw himself into the soft bed, rolled around with his arms on the pillow, and smelled the fresh and fragrant air above, feeling as if he was in the clouds. Since meeting sisters Hizi, her life has become sunny and bright. Not only did Han Baokan get rid of the cancer in her heart, but now she also has a grandfather who loves her. Thinking of her grandpa, she became melancholy again. Should she leave with her grandfather? She really couldn't bear to leave here, leaving sisters Hizi and the others, but her grandfather was old now, and she was the only relative left. If she left her grandfather alone because of her own selfishness, she would not be able to settle down here. When she was confused, she took out the jade sandalwood hairpin and stroked the lines on it carefully. "Mom, what should I do?" The second floor of the small building. Shen Yizi activated the magic array and entered the space with Yuan Bao. It doesn't take much thinking to know that Qingbao must be in the amusement park above at this moment. She first took Yuan Bao around the space to familiarize him with the environment, and then took him to the amusement park. When we found Qingbao, he was driving a bumper car and Yi Chang in the shallow water area, causing the water to fly up and splash. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 158. Qingbao. Shen Yizi walked over, pulled Qingbao out of the car, and spanked him twice. "Look, you are soaked from playing. What if you get sick?" Yu Chain was gloating next to him. He was now in the body of a snake, so he didn't need to wear clothes at all. Even if he got wet, he could just cast a small spell. As a result, Shen Yizi's fire was aimed at him in the next second. "And you are such a big man, and you are still making trouble with Qingbao. You have no self-control at all. How can I safely treat Qingbao like this? Leave it to you to take care of me." Yi Chang was eager to defend, but Shen Yizi didn't give him a chance. "Did you have a lot of fun at the amusement park today? But I'm not happy. You guys showed no restraint in playing and didn't take care of your body, so I decided." King Bao and Yu Chain looked at each other and had a bad premonition. "You are not allowed to come up for 3 days. Qingbao, the baby wants to cry. He hasn't had enough fun yet, and there are still many places he hasn't gone to yet. How can his mother be so ruthless?" Yu Chain also showed a bitter expression. However, Shen Yizi made a twist. "If Qingbao can memorize both the 3-character classic and 100 family surnames, I will release you from the ban in advance." Yu Chain asked hurriedly, "What about me? What are you doing? Please supervise Qingbao for me." Yu Chain nodded sadly and looked at Qingbao. "Whether we can lift the ban in advance depends entirely on you. Yuan Bao, come to mother." Shen Yizi greeted Yuan Bao. Looking at Yuan Bao approaching, both Qingbao and Yi Chang opened their eyes wide. "Mother, why is there another Qingbao?" Qingbao ran to Yuan Bao curiously and circled around him. Yuan Bao was a little at a loss when he saw it. "Qingbao, his name is Yuan Bao, and he will be your brother from now on. You must love each other." Shen Yizi pulled the hands of the two little guys together and held them. "I will be the elder brother from now on." "Yep." Qingbao, who was promoted to elder brother, instantly felt that he had been given a certain mission. He took Yuan Bao's hand and called out affectionately, "Brother Yuan Bao." Yuan Bao grinned, "Brother Qingbao." Shen Yizi. "Why does the painting style feel a bit strange?" Qingbao took Yuan Bao and ran away, mysteriously not knowing what he was going to do. Shen Yizi looked at them from behind with eyes like an old mother. Yi Chang crawled over and said, "That Yuan Bao is a puppet, right?" Can you actually recognize it? Huh, are you looking down on me? A high-level puppet like Yuan Bao can also be considered a treasure. My perception of treasures is very sensitive. Don't tell Qing Bao, just treat Yuan Bao as Qing Bao's younger brother and treat him equally, do you understand? Yi Chang said slowly, it's impossible to treat everyone equally, but it's okay to be a little worse than Qing Bao. Seeing that the two little guys got along well, Shen Yizi felt relieved. Out of the space, she called Xiaoxian over. When she left before, she left Xiaoxian behind and paid attention to the situation in the village to prevent the last zombie incident from happening again. Nothing happened when I left, right? Xiaoxian replied, no, everything is fine in the village. Oh, by the way, the big banyan tree at the head of the village seems to be showing signs of awakening. The awakening of plants is to open up spiritual wisdom and practice consciously. It is no longer the ignorant vegetation it once was. This is a good thing. The banyan tree at the entrance of the village has a history of more than 200 years. Even the oldest old man in the village cannot tell its specific age. He only knows that it has been there a long time ago. The tree becomes mature with age. But to become a spirit requires an opportunity. Originally, the old banyan tree had to wait for a long time for this opportunity, and he might not be able to wait until his death. But Shen Yizi set up the spirit gathering array in the village, and the old banyan tree also benefited. Shen Yizi decided to go and have a look. She went directly to the window. Gan Wu, who was sitting on the roof watching the night, seemed to be aware of it, but when he saw it was her, he sat back down again. Arriving at the entrance of the village, Shen Yizi saw the old banyan tree absorbing the moonlight, its branches and leaves shimmering, as if covered with a layer of moonlight, which was very beautiful. Of course, ordinary people cannot see this scene, otherwise the old banyan tree would have been discovered to be abnormal. How can you survive until now? In addition to the moonlight, the old banyan tree, which has begun to gain intelligence, is consciously absorbing the spiritual energy escaping between heaven and earth. Under the influence of the spirit gathering array, the spiritual energy here has become much richer, but it is still far from comparable to her space. She could sense that the old banyan tree's awakening had reached a critical moment. However, the aura from the outside world is not enough to support it to survive this stage completely. Without any hesitation, Shen Yizi stepped forward and placed his palms on the tree trunk, injecting the spiritual energy in his body. She has healing spiritual roots, and her aura is full of gentleness. She was not rejected by the old banyan tree and was easily accepted. At the back, the old banyan tree is even actively absorbing. Shen Yizi frowned slightly. If the old banyan tree was allowed to absorb it in such a haphazard manner, it would not be enough even if she gave him all the spiritual energy in her body. Put your fingertips a little on the tree and pass the first layer of the Qing Yuan Sutra, a practice suitable for plant cultivation, to the old banyan tree. This technique also comes from Yu Ching. At this time, she had to sigh that there are benefits to living longer. She had memorized a lot of useful and useless exercises, which can be called a living library. The exercises are directly transmitted into the sea of consciousness of the old banyan tree, just like an enlightenment. It does not need to be understood word for word, and it can be understood. After obtaining the technique, Lao Rongshu began to practice it in an orderly manner, and no longer just asked for it from Shen Yizi. She took back her palm and gave it a few drops of spiritual spring. The branches of the old banyan tree are bent, making a humanized fist-clasping movement. A tree that knows how to be grateful is a good tree. Otherwise, Shen Yizi would really have to consider whether to keep the old banyan tree. An hour later, the old banyan tree completely refined the spiritual spring and successfully awakened. Sister, thank you. A soft and pink voice sounded in Shen Yizi's mind. If it weren't for you, I might have failed to awaken and become a dead tree. Shen Yizi was surprised. Are you the old banyan tree? Your voice is so tender? And call her big sister? Sister, how old are you? In the banyan tree family, I am about the same age as a 1 or 2 year old human baby, and I am still a baby. Looking at the huge tree in front of him, Shenyazi could not connect it with the baby. Sister, I would also like to thank you for giving me the skills. With the skills, I don't have to fumble around like my ancestors and take many detours. This is for my eldest sister. This is a long time ago. Those buried under the ground should be used by my eldest sister. The banyan tree baby dug out a stone box from the ground. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 159. Shenyazi used a cleaning technique on the stone box. In an instant, all the dirt on it disappeared, and the surface became smooth and clean. She waited, it was quite heavy, and there was a lock on it, but the lock was no hindrance to her at all, so she just crushed it and pulled it off. She did not rush to open it, but put it into the space. Ever since she discovered the protective mechanism of space for her, she likes to throw the unknown objects she gets into it. The harmful ones are directly absorbed by the soil, while the useful ones are kept. Since you have opened your spiritual wisdom now, practice hard and strive to transform into another form as soon as possible. Shenyazi touched the tree body. The banyan tree was excited when she touched it, its branches and leaves rustling. Yes, big sister, I can do it. In addition, I hope you can take more care of the village after practicing. If you find anything wrong, tell me as soon as possible, okay? Don't worry, big sister, I won't let bad people in. After returning, Shenyazi entered the space and checked the contents of the stone box. To her surprise, there was no jewelry or gold in it. There are only 3 things. This book contains nothing profound about the techniques of cultivating immortals. Throw it aside. She didn't know that in her eyes, the cultivation techniques were not advanced, but outside they were being robbed. The second item is a broken magic weapon, cone-shaped. When you hold it in your hand, the remains fall straight down. It's unclear what function it has. The third item was a bit beyond her expectation. It was a fragment of a purple mirror. Shenyazi put the 2 fragments together to see if they could be put together. The result was that they could not be put together because the edges of the 2 fragments could not meet. They were obviously not 2 similar fragments. I don't know what kind of thing can be summoned after all the pieces are found and put together. Shenyazi was looking forward to it and took the matter of finding all the Zijhan mirror fragments to his heart. Early the next morning, Shenyazi handed the broken cone-shaped magic weapon to Ganwu and asked him to send it to Wan Kantang to see if it could be repaired. While eating breakfast, Shenyazi noticed Han Beiluo's 2 panda eyes and couldn't help but wonder, didn't you sleep well last night? Well, sisters Hizi, Han Beiluo said half of his words. Shenyazi gave her a piece of chicken, glutinous rice, and shayamai. When did you become so hesitant? If you have something to say, just say it. Facing his favorite shayamai in the past, Han Beiluo didn't have much appetite at this time. He poked the stuffing inside with chopsticks and said, Grandpa said he would take me to the place where he lived. I thought about it all night last night. I don't know. Should I go with him? Shenyazi understood the crux of the problem as soon as he thought about it. You want to leave with your grandpa, but you can't bear to leave us. Well, Han Beiluo became more energetic and looked at her with bright eyes. Sisters Hizi, can you tell me what should I do? Shenyazi fed Qingbao a piece of green vegetables and saw him chewing it slowly with a disgusted look on his face. Then he said, you should ask yourself about this, not me. But if you insist on me giving, if you have any opinions, I definitely choose to leave with the old man. After all, your grandpa is already quite old and has no relatives around him. Now you are the only granddaughter. As for us, all the feasts in the world come to an end, and it is normal for friends to get together and leave. If you miss us, you can write to us at any time. Communication is very convenient in this era. The high-end ones include puppet birds specially trained for sending messages, and the low-end ones include post stations, which can send messages and send mails. They are similar to modern express delivery, but the speed is not as fast. Slow. So there is no need to worry about something like things changing over time. Hearing what she said, Han Bailoo just felt that the problem that he was struggling with was just a trivial matter when it came to sisters Hizzy. In fact, she had already made a decision in her heart, but she was unable to make up her mind due to various concerns. Now sisters Hizzy's words undoubtedly gave her a lot of confidence. "Good morning, Dr. Shen. Dr. Shen, are you going to the hospital?" On the way to the hospital, villagers greeted Shen Yizi from time to time, and she responded to them one by one. "Dr. Shen, this is for you." Li Dongshen's third child ran over, holding a big red lobster with teeth and claws in his hand, and handed it to her. Perhaps it was because Shen Yizi helped him take out the fish bone stuck in his throat. The little guy was grateful and would often give her or Qingbao some things he found himself. Either girl fruits picked from the mountains, or cicada sloughs among the branches. He even sent a large bowl of tadpoles once. I don't know where he got it from. This is obviously a good boy who repays his kindness. Shen Yizi knew that he would not refuse his reward, so he accepted it happily every time, and then gave him a few candies and snacks. Because of this, Sanwazi delivered the goods more diligently. "You kid, those shrimps are not for eating or drinking. Why did you bring them to Dr. Shen?" Sanwazi's mother was carrying a basket to the vegetable field to pick vegetables. When she saw her son doing this, she immediately became angry. There was a lot of scolding. "Sister-in-law Qin, you are wrong. Not only are these shrimps edible, they also taste good." Shen Yizi took the big lobster over. "Qin Yu," he said in shock, "Dr. Shen, please don't fool me. These shrimps are covered in hard shells. How can I eat them?" She glanced at the lobster and couldn't imagine that it was edible. It seems that at this time, at least people in this village don't know that lobsters can be eaten. Thinking of the various ways to eat lobsters, Shen Yizi couldn't help but salivate. Which summer had she not eaten a dozen kilograms of lobster before? Stewed in oil, minced with garlic, spiced. The more I think about it, the more mouth-watering it becomes. Shen Yizi looked at the lobster in his hand. It was red all over, the claws were very big, and the meat inside must be very fat, as well as the fat head and tail. The lobsters of this era were much larger than the modern ones. And it's all natural, without any pollution. It will definitely taste better when made. "Sanwazi, where did you get this lobster?" "In the pond next to Nanlangzi, all the shrimps came out when it rained. I just braided a rope with straw and caught them," Sanwazi said very proudly. "I didn't want to be slapped on the head in the next second." "Li Man Kang, what did you promise me yesterday? Didn't you agree not to play by the water? How long has it been since you did it again? How will I deal with you when I go back?" Sanwazi hid behind Shen Yizi and stuck out his tongue at his mother. Qin Yu he stretched out her finger and nodded at him, then left with the basket in her arms. Shen Yizi touched his head and threatened him with a smile, "Third boy, there are water ghosts under the water. Be careful of being pulled down and eaten by the water ghosts." Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 160. Sanwazi trembled when he heard this. If his mother said this, he might not believe it, but since it came from Dr. Shen's mouth, he couldn't help but believe it. Seeing that he was frightened, Shen Yizi took the opportunity to say, "Don't go to the water anymore, just play in the rice field with your friends." The rice field is the place where rice is threshed in the village. Although there are all kinds of strange and chaotic things in this era, and those immortals come and go, the productivity is not much higher, and ordinary people still live a miserable life. The rice is harvested and spread on the rice field. The stone roller is tied to the cow, and the cow is led around the rice field. The stone roller behind him also runs over the rice over and over again, removing the millet from the ears. After grinding it down and then blowing up the dust to dry it, you can get the pure white rice after a series of processes. The whole process is cumbersome and laborious. After grinding the millet off the rice ears are dried in the sun and become straw. The straw is bundled together into a haystack as high as one person and exposed to the sun afterwards, whether it is used for roofing, weaving straw rope into straw sandals, or using it to start fires, they are all excellent materials. Haystacks, for children, are multifunctional mazes. Children can use it as a spring bed to jump on, use it as a slide to slide down, or play hide and seek in it. In summary, rice fields are a natural playground for rural children who have few toys. Out of fear of water ghosts, Sanwa nodded in agreement. There are actually several bodies of water in front of and behind Ljiazhuang village. Not to mention the small river about 7 or 8 meters wide in front of the village, there are no fewer than 5 or 6 ponds, large or small, with overgrown water and grass and thick silt. Adults may not be able to get up if they fall in, let alone children. To prevent the tragedy of a child falling into the water and drowning, Shenyazi deliberately visited various water sources after the call and set up formations near the water. The formation functions like a net. It can catch someone when they fall, and she can also sense it at the same time. In this way, even if there is a real water ghost, it will not be able to cause trouble. While arranging the formation, Shenyazi netted a lot of lobsters and put them all into the space to raise them. She also dug a pond in the space to raise some aquatic products, which she could eat and catch as she pleased. If a drop of spiritual spring was added from time to time, the aquatic products would come alive and the meat would become more and more tender. That night, Shenyazi made a large pot of braised prawns in oil, adding prism-shaped cucumber pieces and quail eggs. The cucumber is stewed until soft, soaking up the soup. When you take a bite, it is spicy and refreshing. It is simply a delicacy in the world when used with rice. But the most delicious thing is the delicious lobster. Shenyazi took one directly, broke off a shrimp claw, put it in his mouth and swished it clean of all the soup on it, and then skillfully bit open the claws to see that there were white flowers inside. The tender meat was exposed. The lobster she picked was very big. The meat in the claws was as thick as her thumb. It couldn't be better. If it had been in the past, she would have just swallowed the meat inside. But now before eating any delicious food, the first thing she thinks of is Qingbao, and she cruelly brings the piece of meat to Qingbao's mouth. Happy Qingbao has always been willing to accept food, but of course, the prerequisite is that it tastes good. As soon as the meat was eaten into his mouth, Qingbao's eyes lit up like little light bulbs. He quickly grabbed one and started eating without any hesitation. Shenyazi was giving him a demonstration while eating. When the others saw the mother-in-law eating happily, and then smelled the spicy smell, how could they hold back? They joined the battle group one after another. Imitate Shenyazi and start eating directly without any reservation. However, it was their first time to eat shrimp, and their proficiency and skills could not be compared with hers. But under her guidance, I finally got the best of my luck. As soon as the meat entered their mouth, the expressions of several people suddenly lit up. There is such delicious food in the world. It feels like I have missed hundreds of millions of tales in the past. Eat one after another. Crayfish is really addictive, and the more you eat it, the more you enjoy it. In addition, Shenyazi had raised these lobsters in the spiritual spring for a while in advance. The meat became more tender, and it was impossible to stop eating them. The large pot of braised prawns that was originally piled up to the top was rapidly decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye due to the unremitting efforts of Shenyazi and several others. The number of shrimp shells in front of everyone is increasing. Finally, a large pot of lobsters was destroyed by several people. Even the cucumbers and quail eggs were not left inside. Qingbao even ate the garlic inside. The garlic heads were simmered until they were very powdery and tasted a bit like potatoes and yams. Shen Yizi saw Qingbao eating with gusto and couldn't help but taste one. It tasted very good. Braised prawns in oil and served with ice-cold fruit wine, this meal lasted until the end of the moon. Even though Han Bailuo couldn't walk anymore, he still had some unfinished thoughts. Sisters Hizzy, this braised prawns is so delicious I won't be able to eat it again after I leave. Not only braised prawns, but also many delicious foods. Thinking of not being able to eat any of these in the future, she couldn't help but feel heartache. The pain is excruciating. Han Bailuo looked at Shen Yizi with tears in his eyes, a hint of drunkenness on his face. Sisters Hizzy, I really want to pack you up and take you away with me. Hiccuped, lying on the table and closing his eyes. Shen Yizi was amused and asked Kun-san to carry her into the house. She cast a cleaning spell on the mess on the table. In an instant, the table became clean and tidy, and she quickly took the cups and dishes into the kitchen. Baby, let's go wash up and go to bed. Shen Yizi picked up Qingbao by surprise and ran to the backyard. Qingbao let out a gleeful laugh. In the middle of the night, Han Bailuo woke up from thirst. She was still a little dizzy, and without opening her eyes, she closed her eyes and fumbled on the low table in front of the window, but failed to find the water glass. She had to sit up, walked weakly to the table, and poured I got a glass of water and drank it down. Having finally quenched her thirst, she felt comfortable and was about to climb into bed to continue sleeping. When she accidentally looked outside, she found that the moonlight was very good tonight. The silver disc-like moon hung on the light blue sky, peaceful and pure. She leaned against the window frame and stared at it for a while, when suddenly a black shadow passed through the moon. She opened her eyes wide and realized that the black shadow was a huge bird, and there seemed to be a person on the bird. The camera zooms in. The big bird is a red three-headed bird, its gorgeous wings glide silently in the air. The person on its back has one leg bent casually and the other leg hanging in the air. His arms support the side of his face, his eyelids are slightly drooped, showing a careless laziness. It was Zhang Lingch who had fought with Gu Swiding before.